Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief. Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they...
All right, sorry about that, family. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shout outs to Islamic Relief doing good in the hood. I hope everybody's having a good Monday. Well, is this Monday? Yeah, it's Monday. I hope everybody's having a good Monday. Started out today. Just got a little bit of some heavy news. A good, very good brother, good friend of mine, solid individual, Bill Walker the third, William Walker the third, out of Washington D.C. passed earlier today. Left this earth, returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want to say I'm shook to just have a certain type of there's a sobriety. There's like a certain somberness, a certain soberness that happens, particularly when you lose teachers. Now I'm, you know my age, but when you lose teachers or people who are leaders in a way that represent a certain time frame, a certain ethic or moral code that you live by, that maybe we don't live by it now, but he was a stand-up guy and just really, really solid. So really, you work through those emotions. Of course, you feel for the family, and I pray for the family of William Walker, absolutely. But at the same time, there is a sense of absolute loss. And this is not a car accident or something. He went to the hospital here in DC. He got ill, and I foolishly hadn't heard anything, and I was like, well, I know Walk will be up, going and rolling, and I had another plan. So we want to send condolences out to the Walker family, his sons, and corresponding family, all of those that love them, Sister Felicia, Dr. Yvonne, Chappelle family, everybody that loved them. It's I guess we're all in a space right now. Like I said, it was just this surrealness as you get ready to go for the show. Like I didn't fathom that he could leave. So it was a bit of a shock. And this is a show that I know, this is a show I put together, and this is something that we would have laughed at because it has so much to do with what we believe, what our values are, how we were raised, our conflicts, if you will, our moral conflicts with the society that's presenting itself to us. It looks nothing like what we see now. I mean, I want everybody to know that when I grew up, my parents gave me a lot of freedom, but at the same time, they gave me the wisdom to let me know it didn't mean that I could do whatever I wanted to do. Does that make sense to you? While you have a lot of freedom, common sense says you can't just do what you want to do. There's a pecking order. There's a certain type of response and responsibility and accountability that you have to the universe. That the trust that's put in you is verified. That people hold you accountable, and in holding accountable, if you pass that test, if you will, if you respect that space, then you're given more opportunities and more responsibilities and more freedom, and the loss of my friend, Mr. Walker, is a bit of a setback because he reminded me of that. He was it's a thing about when you're a teacher and you lose a teacher. Let me explain this, and we'll get the show started. It's a thing about when you're a teacher. I'm a teacher at heart, at core, creatively, spiritually, emotionally, religiously. I'm a teacher at heart. When you lose a teacher, it's not like you lost a teacher. That presence is irreplaceable. That knowledge is irreplaceable. And that's kind of what the stutter point is for me right now, understanding that he's gone and that wisdom is irreplaceable. That space that Allah gave him to hold in the world, that tethered him to this world, is a very sacred space. And now, he's gone. We'll all go, but it's safe to say that when we leave, there will be different responses. William Walker's death is a reminder, of course, that we won't be here all the time, but it's also a reminder of when men were men. He was a man's man. We didn't talk stuff about gender. We talked about how you take care of your family, how you take care of your parents, things that were absolute. And I just want to, one, acknowledge the greatness of this man, acknowledge his heart and his spirit. He was a kind, gentle man. So, number one, I want to do that. Number two, I want to recognize his importance to young black men, to young black women in the Washington, D.C. area. This is very, very important. I think we just can't overlook it because, we lost several generations with COVID, whether we want to admit it or not. But at the same time, that knowledge is not being replenished. This tomfoolery about how we readjust history and African American excellence and African American achievement and African American history. These are the things that Walker represented. This was a person you could say, Walker, what happened in 55, what happened in 40 something, what happened in the 70s, and he could give it to you accurately, but he could teach you about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the show started. Shout out to my main man, William Walker. Our subject today: do rich white people really ever go to jail? It's a learning one, so stick around, get out your pen and paper. We'll be back. This is Preacher Moss on the Shout Out Show. Thank you for tuning in. All right, everybody, let's shake this off. I do have a show to do today. Again, shout out to William Walker, my main man, William Walker. I call him Walk. So here's the deal, everybody, brothers and sisters. Today's subject is called "Do rich white people really go to jail?" Again, do rich white people really ever go to jail? We're gonna talk about this because I really want to make a point about some of the things you've been seeing on TV and you're lied to day in, day out. MSNBC, CBS, NBC. I'm gonna give you all the real deal about what you're seeing on television and what they're trying to do to you in the context of the way the world is working right now. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get in our comment section. Of course, first and foremost, we got Sister Ree. How you doing, Sister Ree? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. And again, condolences to your family. Hope that's working out. And Allah blesses your cousin this life and the next. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your well wishes and your condolences. Thank you so much. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for the altar. Appreciate you and duas to the Walker family. Like I said, this is a good dude. He's a different dude, man. He was like real cool cat, man. But he had been around and he wasn't afraid to share wisdom. So thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you, man. Always, Mr. 6 o'clock. Mr. Walker Brother Walker was he was one of the original straight down 6 o'clock, just so you know, out of Washington, D.C. I'm not sure what part, if it was Northwest or the toe, but good dude. and he was a serviceman. My main man, Bilal Salahuddin, and his queen, Sister Sonia. Brother, thanks so much. I'm glad y'all in the same room. Unity is important, my brother. Unity is important, man. As always, I appreciate both of you for tuning into the show. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. Just a shout out for you guys on Thursday. I'm going to be broadcasting from Detroit. I will be in Dearborn, Michigan, actually, for the El Hibri Peace Awards. But it's not the actual Peace Awards. They're doing the Eid celebration. I hope, inshallah, to do a little live location, get you guys kind of see some stuff. I want to say on, backstage, some of the stuff I go through. And hopefully you guys, you like it. You'll get to meet some of the people at El Hibri. They're doing some really, really good stuff in terms of getting Muslims and people of color to get out and apply for some of these jobs in the White House and, make ourselves be represented. We have to be seen, and to be seen, you got to be heard. But at the same time, you got to be consistent. So anybody is interested in putting in for a job at the White House, Thursday is the show for you. So I got the itch here, brother. I think I got a mosquito bite. I went to go see my aunt yesterday, and we sat out on her porch, and they pull out the little smoke things, keep the mosquitoes away. I think the mosquitoes had on oxygen masks because they lit your boy up. All right, Blau, thank you so much. So I'm sitting around. You see all this stuff about Trump and Bannon and all this stuff, and a little voice inside of me said, "Man, they're getting away with murder." That's literally what I said. I said, "Man, they're gonna get away with murder." And here's the thing that's being done to us, that we're getting piecemeal justice. When I say we're getting piecemeal justice, what I mean is you're not getting the whole justice procedure. The whole justice procedure does not work like this. To me, a crime has been committed. A crime has been committed. It's of note. Other people are going to jail. Other people are not going to jail. Now, the people who are going to jail, they are not rich. They're not rich. They're not terribly creative. They're not terribly smart. I'm not gonna say they're dumb, but they're smart. If you're gonna commit a crime, damn, you don't do it on every camera. You go down to Washington Capitol. Yeah, they get cameras everywhere. And the idea that I'm going to launch this type of activity, I'm going to have an insurrection because that guy said, let's go to Capitol. See, that guy and you are two different things. That guy is rich. That guy's president. You are a clerk at Foot Locker. So look, you ain't getting presidential justice. You getting Foot Locker justice. And over and over and over and over again, brothers, sisters, we see the projection of importance that's not really there. You know what I'm saying? When I say it's not there, you're not important. I call it the effect. I call it the Rosewood effect, meaning that the person that leads the mob, that's the person that thinks he's the most important because he led the mob. And so we have this justice a year and a half after the insurrection. And you guys remember, we did a show, you might not remember, but we did a show called Smells Like a Coup. And I did it the day before the insurrection. And the way I called it was the fact I was actually in DC when the coup happened. I said, there's certain things that are going on. Number one, the aspect that these people are being allowed to march freely through Washington, D.C. That's number one. Number two was they had an agenda and had nothing to do with insurrection against Black people. They stayed out of the Black areas of Washington, D.C. They stayed right down on the mall, because if you get a little bit too far in Southeast or Northeast, Northwest, you're gonna get your cookie snapped. That's what happens. But this whole thing about justice, we're watching a process, and I don't know if we really fully understand the process. That the O'Bannons and the Trumps and the Trump Juniors and the Ivankas, they're not going to jail. They are in hearings. They are in committee hearings. See, Black people that go to jail, Latinos go to jail for a long time, you don't have hearings. You have trials. And when you go to trial, you are judged by a jury of your peers. 12. This is not happening, brothers and sisters. Why? Because these are rich white people. Let me say it again, rich white people. And if you don't have rich white people money, you won't get rich white people justice. There was a book written by a guy named Bill Hogshire. The name of the book was called You Are Going to Prison. It was potentially one of the greatest, most graphic books about going to prison because it lets you know about the process. You see, this whole thing that you're seeing in terms of Trump and all that, it's a farce. Real justice does not work like that. American justice does not work like that. American justice is about plea bargain. We don't go to court. We get the conviction. You go to jail. State of Texas has a conviction rate of 99 point something, something, something. Why? Because people plea out. The only thing that you can have is worse than a public defender is a public defender that thinks they're negotiating your best behalf. No, this is not about trial, going to trial. It's about going to plea bargain. And if you talk about rich white people going to jail, they rarely ever go to jail. And if they do go to jail, they don't stay long. Signs of murder, they don't go long. Political activity, they don't stay long. And over and over and over and over again, what you're beginning to see is something that's indicative of society, brothers and sisters, that people really believe that they can do what they want to do without repercussions. I said at the top of this discussion, I said, hey, listen, real talk. I had a lot of freedom as a child, but I also had the understanding that did not mean that you could do what you want to do. You couldn't do anything that you wanted to do. They say you can be what you want to be, yes, but it came without. You want to be a criminal, there are things that you had to deal with in terms of criminals. Let me invite some people in. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh. What's going on, brother Eric? E. Kareem to you, Sister Ika, all the way from Depok. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh. Bria, what's going on, man? You get the justice in America you could afford. Exactly. That's what 2 G's. Exactly. If you have a public defendant, the public defendant works for the court system. They work for the court system. Let me tell you about public defenders. They're fresh out of school. They're trying to make a name for themselves. Here's what you never hear. You never hear of an experienced prosecutor becoming a public defender. It never happens. You become a public defender, you get into private practice, and so on and so forth. And I'm not knocking public defenders, but they all know the rules. That public defenders are not going to be going into court representing their clients. That is not your purpose. You are supposed to shepherd your client into a deal that works for the court system. That one, produces a conviction, and two, gets that thing off the docket. The moment you say not guilty, you have gone into a whole nother realm of the justice system. In the realm of the justice system, when you say not guilty, is called the reset. The reset. And the reset means that when you're ready to go and go in front of the judge and the prosecutor can go, I'm not ready. Reset. Another day. Wait, I don't have the file. Reset. Another day. Hey, you know what? I got something to do. Reset. You can have as many resets on that docket as they want to. And they will reset you and reset you and reset you because two things are happening. One, you're not getting any closure on your case. And number two, you're spending a fortune. As it was said, and you are going to prison, you are spending a fortune in legal fees because your defense attorney is constantly billing you. Every time you come to court, billing you. Every time they put a piece of paper through processing, billing you. Every time they request a file, billing you, billing you, billing you, billing you. So eventually, it's not that you're not guilty. It's the fact that you cannot afford to prove that you're not guilty because guess what? That defense attorney and that prosecutor, they know each other. And if you got the money, as Jabril said, if you got the money, they will talk to one another and work out a deal. I know. So here's the thing that I want everybody to understand in terms of societal impetus about what I'm talking about. Do rich white people ever go to jail? They go to jail, but then they get released. The larger question is, do rich white people go to prison? And that answer is rarely, if ever. You got to make a Bernie Madoff type mistake to go to prison. And even Bernie Madoff, when he went to prison, it's not like they sent him to a rough prison like Rahway State or some Fed joint. He was in a cushy place. Well, that's where he died. But and I'm not getting into that, but I'm saying this is a guy that broke people's future. He broke generational wealth in a greedy way. And all they could do was give him this time. But even when sending him to prison, it was the whole scope of, we have to send you to prison. Look at some of the cases that have come down the street. Look at some of the murders. Look at some of the murders that come down the way. George Floyd, the guy that killed George Floyd, he's still back in court, still trying to plead not guilty. Do you see what I'm saying? What is the purpose of the justice system if we can't really have justice? Well, because, as Jabril has alluded to, justice, good or bad, requires money. And if you don't have money, you are what's called human capital. And so the system that feeds the justice system is the industrial prison complex, which makes sure that you have a rotation of people who are giving up skills, labor, life force, life energy to make sure that this thing, listen, when you go to jail, listen, when you get locked up, whether you're innocent or not, you got to bail out. You're giving people your money, and they're drawing interest on your money while you go through this process called a jury trial or getting ready for jail. But at the same time, I told you, you're paying your defense attorney over and over and over. Your defense attorney won't even take, here we go, he won't even take your money without a retainer. Without a retainer. And guess what? You're not the only case. He's got 8, 9, 20 other suckers he's taking retainers for. And guess what? All of y'all are winding up in one court here, one court over there. And guess what they're doing? Resetting. You rarely, ever get to a jury trial. And when you think about it, you say, well, what is this whole process? I recently did a show in Texas prisons. And let me explain to you, when you're in prison, what that says is things did not go well for you in court. When you're in prison, you can't bail out of prison. You hear what I'm saying? You can't bail out of prison. They had a different color uniform, but when you're not coming home for quite a long time, at least a year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm saying this is a mental imprint that they're giving you, brothers and sisters, that you don't see people like yourself in hearings. You don't see people like yourself in justice activities that have to do with mediation. You're sent to the bottom of the bucket, which is prison and incarceration. And that, brothers and sisters, begins the whole scope, if you will, of getting people indoctrinated to this. Do rich people really go to jail? Hell no. You can watch some of the shows, and they're not lying. When they get arrested, what they say? Call my attorney. I'll be out in 15 minutes. And they do. They call their attorney. So why do the attorneys get these people out? Why? Because they're connected. Because they know who to call in the bail office. They know how to get things expedited. Their cases don't become the criminal cases because guess what? They take pleas too. So look, I'm going to be back. You guys, don't move. I'm sorry the show moves so fast, but it is what it is. Preacher Moss talking about, do rich white people ever really go to jail? We'll be right back.
Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear? I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just gotta hear, don't get the COVID. the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
All right, we're back talking about, do rich white people really ever go to jail? And the answer is nah, they really don't. But poor black people go to jail. Poor Latinos go to jail. And poor whites go to jail. Yeah, poor whites go to jail. And a lot of them go to jail at a rate that's actually alarming, because you don't really see the jails that they're going into. You know, they put the black face up there. And it's a hustle. It's a hustle, brothers and sisters. It's a hustle to funnel you in to what looks like criminal activity. What it is to funnel you into a criminal environment. And once you're in a criminal environment and you're show to show with other people who are actually criminals, then you know what? There's no impetus to use discernment on your case. There's no need to try and figure out what happened and investigate. I'll give you guys a prime story. Some years ago, I was driving from Long Beach to Lincoln, Nebraska. My car had been wrecked. I put it together with a good friend of mine, and the airbag didn't work. So I'm going down 70, headed through Utah. A cop comes this way, swings by, and he pulls me over. He said, I pulled you over because your airbag. I said, dude, I had an accident. I don't even know how you can see my airbag, but whatever. I need you to step out of the car. Step out of the car for what? Steps out of the car. He tells me that I have an outstanding warrant in Utah. I said, I have no idea. I said, can we look on the computer? He goes, no, the place is closed. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, we're going to work it out. I said, well, why do I have to be outside? He said, why do I have to be outside? Next thing you know, there I am in the back of this car going to this place called Moab, Utah. And you talk about a hustle, brothers and sisters. I get down there, I get my one phone call. I call my mom. She's like, what's going on? They tell me I owe $400. I'm like, Mom, I don't even know where this is coming from. This is how corrupt the system is. This is how people wind up in prison for a very long time. My mom goes, I'm going to send the money. I said, he goes, how's your mom going to send it? Western Union. This cop goes, oh, I'll go pick it up. I'll go pick it up. To clear a bench warrant? $400 to clear a bench warrant? And then I couldn't even get my car because they impounded my car. I had to stay at a hotel across the street. All my clothes were in the car. I had to go to this hotel. It was like a Bates Hotel, $25. And the guy goes, oh, you just got released from, I just got released from jail. He goes, yeah. I have no car. I have no coat, brothers and sisters. This is Utah, and it's November. It's cold. I had to sleep in a room where the door didn't close. I had to push the bed up against the door to make sure it didn't open. I actually had a bad dream that the door opened and the wolf was standing there ready to eat me. I get up in the morning to go get my car. I have to run a mile and a half to 2 miles to this place where they towed my car. I had to pay them. I look at my car. They ripped everything out because they said, oh, we didn't know if there was anything there that could hurt us. I'm like, you just went through my car. It's an illegal search. And you guess what, brothers and sisters? There was nothing I could do about it. I said to get the hell out of there. And that's exactly what I did. Had it been any other thing, guess what, brothers and sisters? You might be getting the shout out show from the correctional facility in Utah, because that's how the game works. All right. Shout out to my good friend Bill Walker. Miss you, man. May Allah be pleased with you and give you blessings in this life and the next. Everybody else, have a blessed day. And reach out to a loved one. Reach out to a loved one. Don't be like me, foolishly believing that you're here today, you'll be there tomorrow. No, call them and make sure that they're doing okay. All right. All right, that's our show. You guys have been amazing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shout out, show.